Welcome to the WiseTake DFS podcast. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I'm joined here once again by DTECHNATION, aka Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie, 4Ds. That's literally, I'm sorry, 8Ds. I'm sorry, at Paulie 8Ds. So no. It's Paulie, and then you're gonna literally put in 8Ds just to clear that up for those of you who can't see it on the screen. If you're watching the video, you're fine. Anyway, Paulie, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing all right. Didn't have Scooter Gannett tonight, so my night was over pretty quickly. But overall, doing fine. How about you?
I did okay, man. I didn't. I gave it a shot. I did have Scooter Gannett. I did one entry in the $25 FanDuel qualifier, so I did have him in that one. So that went well. I had him in Archer, and I had Kozar. The problem is, I stuck within the same game, and I played like Giorco, and I did have Piscotti, but I played Fam and Conforto, so they were all disappointing. So I ended up finishing like somewhere. I cashed in the tournament, which was cool. At one point, I was fifth. It was getting exciting. I think Fuego was first. I was fifth. We were like, yeah, and then you knew that wasn't gonna hold though, but anyway, it was fun, man. It's interesting because like we were talking before the show a little bit, like the thing about it, when a guy like Scooter Gannett, obviously if you played Scooter Gannett, and I played him too, don't get me wrong, but like if you played him, then you're like, oh yeah, it's awesome when that happens, it's phenomenal, it's great, but then in reality though, it kind of kills the slate. Like this was a great tournament slate. This was like something exciting because you feel like there's so many different options and there's so many different ways to get there. And then
Yep.
all of a sudden, like you want to see the final five, like the final five guys. Like you want to see totally different lineups and just see who edged it out. Like you want to see a guy win by like 3 and like really edge it out. You don't want it to
Yep.
be if you didn't play one player, your night is like you might min cash, but that's about as far as you're going. It does. It kind of ruins the night a little bit.
Yeah, especially when they got like 10, 15% ownership. It's
Yeah.
just like there's too many guys have them, and you're just not catching a 100-point second baseman for 2K.
Yeah, it's like when you're playing like a 3-game slate and you decide to fade the chalkiest guy on the board and then he hits a home run. You're just like, oh, well, I'm done.
Yep,
Because
I'm done.
you're like, all right, well, that was fun. But yeah, man. So you know what's interesting? We did mention on the pod last night that Wainwright's road numbers were pretty bad. So that's kind of what got me over there. And then um, it just seemed I took a stance. Paulie, you always mention how I always talk about Vegas, and from what I saw, it looked like the public was all over St. Louis. So I thought it was a good time to try out the Cincinnati bats and tournaments. That was basically it. But anyway, man. So we had Gouts up on that. That was awesome. Did you catch that? We had Gouts up all that on last night.
Yeah, I did watch that. That's awesome. I think what he's doing is like everyone's dream that's playing this. To make $500,000 in a few months. It was interesting. Like, he basically just dug in, started really focusing on other guys that are winning his lineup, studying them, took a few lessons from some of the other pros that out there, and he I guess started to hit a couple small tournaments, built up his bankroll. He took first in a really really big NBA slate that paid 200 up top. It was like a $7 entry, and from there he's just taken off. It's like he's doing well, but that's awesome. It gives you hope that it can happen to anyone.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like after talking to the guy, you can obviously tell he's a very smart dude,
Yep.
and you can also tell. I mean, the guy has 2 master's degrees. You can tell he works hard. So it takes you got to have a certain you got to be able to look at things differently if you want to survive playing tournaments, and you got to work hard. It can be done, but you
Yep.
got to work hard. Speaking of work hard, man, you ready to step into this slate?
Yep. I'm ready, man.
All right, let's do it. Looks like we got Chad Cole of the Pittsburgh Pirates visiting Wade Miley, the lefty from Fuego's Baltimore Orioles. Go ahead, Paulie.
All right. Well, hitter's ballpark. Neither of these pitchers are too exciting. Baltimore's got Miley going, who can be decent, but not against Pittsburgh, a team that doesn't strike out very much. Um, on the Baltimore side, I like a lot of lefties. Cole gets crushed by lefties, so Smith and Davis. Those would be the 2 guys I'd target the most. And he doesn't do too much better against righties, so a Baltimore stack is definitely in play. And on the Pittsburgh side, although I don't like Miley, I don't know if there's anyone. Maybe McCutchen you can give a try. He's been heating up a little bit. but they have a lot of their better hitters are lefties, so I don't know if there's anyone, that I would focus on there. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I'm with you, man. I'm 100% with you with the lefties on Cole. Cole is bad, and I don't mind taking a lot of these guys like Machado, Trumbo, etc., just because they have the power. And
Hmm.
maybe people will go elsewhere because we all know to take lefties. But if you want to talk about his hard contact rate to lefties over the last 2 years, is about 37.5%. He gets mashed by lefties, so you were not kidding about that. And of
Yeah, he
course
gets
now,
mashed.
yeah, and he has a big park downgrade, going from his nice cozy pitchers park in Pittsburgh down to Baltimore. So I'm with you, man, on the bats there, and I'm not interested in playing Miley either. The Pirates don't strike out enough. They've been actually kind of hot, which is kind of weird because I think we all got a little used to them being bad, and now they're starting to swing the bats. They're not really doing it with home runs, but they're just small balling people to death. So
Yeah,
they're definitely a team that if you want to play them, you don't want to one off, you want to stack
no,
them.
it's a
Like,
stack for sure, for sure.
yeah, definitely. But I'm with you, man. All right, we got Rick Porcello of the Boston Red Sox visiting CC Sabathia, of the New York Yankees. Go ahead, Paulie.
I like this game a lot for hitting. I wouldn't pitch either guy. CC, although he does have a good game here and there, his last game he pitched well. He is definitely susceptible to the blow up. So I like a lot of Boston bats, Mookie Betts, Chris Young coming back to Yankee Stadium. He was on the Yankees last couple of years. He's a lefty matcher, so he might get a start. Um, I like Leon, the catcher. He's a reverse splits hitter, so he's a guy you could look at on Boston. Maybe like he'll be batting ninth. You can go 9-1-2-3. Xander Bogaerts is an option. Hanley hit a home run tonight. I like everyone on the Boston side and the Yankee side. I think this could be like your classic Yankees Boston rivalry game, 9-8 kind of final. They go back and forth. Porcello's been getting hit hard this year. He's given up like in the high 30s hard contact, and the Yankees, when they get going, they can really blow up. Gardner, Sanchez, Judge, Holiday, Hicks, Castro, the whole lineup too. So I'm going to have a lot of combinations of Yankees, Boston's game stacks with whatever pitchers I like that I can fit in.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I really like the bats here too. I do like the Yankees. I like the Yankees quite a bit, and a lot of people give me crap about being a Yankee hater. I'm not a Yankee hater, man. I'll play the Yankees when I like them, man. They always assume because I'm a Met fan I don't like the Yankees. Because a couple times I said I didn't believe that this was going to be consistent. Well, regardless of what I said, as long as it is hot, I'm going to keep playing them. I have no problem with them. Are you kidding? So, yeah, man, I'm with you, man. The Red Sox, I think, is one of the more obvious plays. Chris Young at 2.2. I would imagine, like in cash games, he's going to be locked and loaded everywhere. He's 2.2 on FanDuel against CC. Projected to
Yep.
bat second. He typically bats at least fifth when they play a lefty. So I would expect him to be pretty popular in cash games. And I completely get it if you want to do that. But yeah, it's certainly interesting. Sam Travis, 2.7. He's projected to bat fifth. We'll see what happens there. You mentioned Leon against lefties. That's actually, he does pretty well there. But I love these. I love these Yankee bats, and I actually like their righties. Don't get me wrong; you can't go wrong with Didi and Hicks and Gardner and all these guys. They're all playing well.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is over the last 2 years on the road, Porcello he's got a 286 road WOBA to lefties on the road over the last 2 years now, and against righties actually 331. So he seems to struggle a bit more on the road against righties, which is, I mean, you want to talk about some righties that you don't want to be on the wrong side with. It's Gary Sanchez, Judge, Holiday, and Castro right now. So.
Yeah.
I'd say stack them up also, man. I like both sides here, but I think I like the Yankees a little bit more.
Yeah. I agree with that. I'm fine with that. Just preference, but expect a lot of runs in this game.
Absolutely, man. This one's gonna be interesting. This is where Paulie kind of drops his hot take here. We got Mike Pelfrey of the Chicago White Sox. It was supposed to be Odorizzi, but from what we understand, he was scratched, and it looks like it's going to be Jacob Faria of the Tampa Bay Rays. Go ahead, Paulie.
All right, so Jacob Faria, I'm looking him up right now. I just want to find out what is he. He's a right-handed pitcher. This is going to be his first start in the pros. Let's see how he did in the minors. 12.89 K per nine. He's a prospect, and he's had over 8, as high as 13 K per nines in single A, double A, and triple A over the last 2 years. Home runs per nine below 1. So this is probably one of the top prospects for Tampa Bay. So it's going to be interesting to see. Although in his first start in the pros, he could be nervous. He might, Chicago White Sox stack could be decent. Maybe in one lineup you throw that in. but not having much info on the guy, I couldn't tell you, where he struggles, where he doesn't. We're just gonna have to find out and see how he does. But there is some K upside there. So with the White Sox struggles against righties, he may be interesting as well. We'll see if the FanDuel gets him in the player pool. He's not now, but I did see a tweet from FanDuel saying that they're trying to get him in. So I think he will be in there, and he'll be cheap. So maybe a guy to think about. And then Mike Pelfrey, I can't believe I'm going to say this on the air because this might come back to bite me, but I think he's actually in a decent spot here. Tampa Bay, they strike out, in the top three in baseball. It's a big ballpark. If Pelfrey gets a favorable umpire, this could be a game where he gets you six innings, 7 or 8 Ks, and if the Tampa Bay bats don't smack a few out of the park, he can get you a pretty decent score at 5,800. That allows you to get a lot of good bats. It's somebody I'm going to be considering pretty significantly, if you can believe that or not. And then in terms of bats, I can understand playing Tampa Bay lefties, Miller, Dickerson, Lomo at first. And then for the White Sox, I don't think this is a good spot for many of the bats. Maybe Abreu you could throw out there and see if the guy breaks down in his first start, but they struggle against righties. So I'm off their bats.
Yeah, man. Listen, Pelfrey's certainly a hot take. And I think the Rays bats are pretty solid tournament play. If you think about it, one of the drawbacks of playing the Rays is they're either home run or strikeout. So if they have a pitcher that doesn't strike a lot of people out, then you would think they're in a good spot. However, I'm very big on playing pitchers that maybe more based off their opponent's strikeout rate than the pitcher strikeout rate. I think in tournaments that's a good tactic because everybody's going to look at the Darvishes, the Keuchels, etc. And a guy like Pelfrey's not even going to be considered. I think people are just starting to finally get off the target Mike Pelfrey bandwagon because he's actually been decent this year. And I think you hit it right on the head. This is a pitcher's park. What it comes down to is the umpires. Pelfrey's swinging strike rate over the last 2 years is 6.1%. This year it's 6.2%. However, he is pitching fairly well. Now he does have a nasty splitter. He's a ground ball guy. He struggles against lefties. His hard contact rate versus lefties is terrible. But against righties, it hasn't been all that bad. So this is a situation where you're banking on if he has a good ump, you get a lot. You get maybe if you can get 2 to 3 swinging strikeouts, and then you can get another 3 to 4 looking
Called
strikeouts.
Strike.
Right, called strikes. At 5.8 on FanDuel, and I'm not even sure what his price is on DraftKings, but I'm sure he's extremely cheap where you have to play 2 pitchers there. We do have cores on this slate. We got a lot of bats on the slate in general. Do we have cores on this slate?
No, Coors is in the early.
Okay,
It's a 3:30 game.
Okay, but either way, we do have a lot of expensive bats to pay for. So it's a different approach. Listen, I'm not going to do it on FanDuel. I can't go there. But listen, I see the merit. I think that it's certainly going to be contrarian. Nobody's going to do that. And lately we've kind of seen these cheap pitchers kind of get it done. So if there's ever a team to play a guy like Pelfrey against, it's going to be in this ballpark, a pitcher's ballpark primarily, against a team like this who have a lot of strikeouts in the lineup. So with that said, though, I do like the race stack a little bit as well, and I'm with you on Faria. I think he could be interesting as well. He's a top prospect. We just mentioned how the Sox strike out a ton against righties. He could be interesting as well, man.
Yeah. I think I'm going to look at both these pitchers. They're both going to be cheap, and I will definitely have a Tampa hedge stack if I go heavy on Pelfrey. So,
right, for sure.
And that may be the lineup that wins me all the money. So it's funny how that works out.
It doesn't matter how you get there; it's all about how you get there. I'll be interested to see what the total is. Obviously, right now we don't have a total or a line out, but I'll be interested to see that for sure.
Yep.
All right, we got Alex Meyer of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I always say that to mess with Matt. Visiting Buck Farmer of the Detroit Tigers. Go ahead, Paulie.
Is Buck Farmer the starter? I have Fulmer.
I had Fulmer on FanDuel, but another source I have, they have Buck Farmer in there. So I'm honestly, this happens to us quite often when we do the shows the night before. So I'm not exactly sure. Like for instance, in the model, because we got it from FanDuel's sheets. We do have
Fulmer.
But I'm looking at Labs right now, and they're projected, and they have Buck Farmer there, and so I don't know.
Okay, well, if it's Buck Farmer, he's a younger pitcher. He actually had a decent start last game. and this might not be a terrible spot for him. Big park. The Angels, they have been heating up a little bit, but their lineup certainly doesn't scare anyone. And then if it's Michael Fulmer, you're even more comfortable with that if you're going to pitch one of those guys. Fulmer keeps the ball down, doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. He rarely gets taken deep. And the Angels, their lineup is just struggling now without Trout, and I don't think there's any guys in that lineup. Maybe Cole Calhoun. He's been heating up a little bit lately. And on the Angels side, Alex Meyer, I've used him a little bit. He does have good swing and miss stuff, and then he also has trouble with his control. So if you get him on a day that he's on, he can do well for you. I would not play him against the Tigers. Their lineup's just too dangerous, and I would probably play some of the Tigers' batters. Kinsler's back, so he may be ready to go. Avila, Cabrera, J.D. Martinez just been mashing the ball since he came back from injury. Upton's been killing it. I think he's got like 7 home runs in the last 10 days. And Castellanos, even though he got moved to the bottom lineup, he's been hitting now. So just too dangerous of a spot to pitch Meyer. In this game, I'd probably look at a couple Tiger stacks, and that'd be it.
Yeah, man. I think it's an interesting game. We don't know what the total is because I think Buck Farmer, and I just checked on MLB.com straight from them, and they have Buck Farmer listed as the probable starter. So apparently they're going to push Farmer back for whatever reason.
Okay.
And we should see Buck Farmer. So the thing about Buck Farmer is he is young. You don't know what kind of leash he's going to be on. If he gets out early, you're going to have the Angels against that wretched bullpen. However,
The worst bullpen.
Correct.
By far the worst.
Correct, by the worst bullpen. So they have that going for them. They've been swinging the bats a little bit better today. Alex Meyer has been decent. And if you want to play guys against the Tigers, you want righties. But like you said, man, this lineup is just too potent, and I don't feel comfortable. Alex Meyer hasn't shown me enough that I could play him in that situation. And remember, he does play in L.A., which, like, the Tigers ballpark isn't the best for hitting, but it's certainly better than what they got out in L.A. over there, for the Angels. So, yeah, man, I'm with you. I'm not too big on Meyer. The price is attractive, and like I said, I do like playing righties against him. He just hasn't shown me enough. Like, if he could show me he could do something here, then maybe if we're in the situation similarly, I'll give him a shot. But he hasn't shown me he could do it enough. He does get hit, and the Tigers can hit pretty good, man, so I'm with you.
Yep.
Let's see. And Ian Kinsler's back. Just wanted to mention that. So they are getting a little healthier. Avila's been pretty hot. So now they have Kinsler. They got Miggy. They got J.D. Martinez. Upton's been hot. Castellanos is starting to heat up a little bit. Even Presley's been contributing. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with this Tiger offense unless it's an elite pitcher, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, we got Lance Lynn of the St. Louis Cardinals visiting Bronson Arroyo of the Cincinnati Reds.
All right. Here's another game I like. Batson, Cincinnati Reds, Great American Ballpark, definitely one of the top hitters parks out there. And both these pitchers are mediocre to terrible. Terrible being Bronson Arroyo. Although recently he's pitched all right. Just like the Cardinals pitcher who went today, Wainwright. Like, he had pitched well his last few starts, and then lo and behold, today he got rocked. I think the same thing is probably coming for Arroyo. So with St. Louis, they've been struggling the last few days. I don't think people will be on them like we talked about before the show. And I'm going to probably play a bunch of Fowler, Carpenter, Piscotty, Giorgio stacks. See if they can get going in the small ballpark against a bad pitcher. And on the Cincinnati Reds side, I think there might be one guy that's popular on their team tomorrow. I'm not sure. Second baseman. Right?
Yeah, I think he might be a little
popular tomorrow.
Yeah, he might be a little bit.
He's actually from Cincinnati too, and it was just like an amazing moment for him after he hit that 4th home run. Yeah, like the whole stadium was standing. That's a cool moment for that guy.
Oh yeah, especially after playing on a rival team for so long. He played for the Brewers for a little while, so it's like you're on a rival team, then you come home, and now you just set the 17th player ever, I think, in MLB history did 4 home runs in a game or something like that. It's insane.
And he's not even a power hitter.
No,
it's crazy.
Yeah, he's a punt play.
Yeah, he definitely is. But I think after a game like that, he'll probably get a little more ownership.
Yeah.
And probably the Reds, like Lance Lynn doesn't scare anybody. Lefties hit him pretty well. You got a couple decent lefties in this lineup. Hamilton, Joey Votto. I don't believe Lance Lynn holds runners on well either. So Billy Hamilton at the top of the lineup. He gets on base. He's stealing 2 bags and scoring a run. It's just as good as a homer. And then Scott Schebler too. If he's in the lineup, he's has hard hit numbers and distance numbers and exit velocity numbers lately that are like through the roof. So he's been popping in a lot of models. He's somebody he could be a decent one-off actually, Scott Schebler. And but otherwise, I'm going to be focused on the St. Louis bats in this one.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely with you. I think that Lance Lynn, for people who have listened before, they probably already know that I just don't like Lance Lynn. I never have. There's something about the guy, man. I just don't like him. I don't know if it's the way he looks or I don't know what it is. I just don't like the guy. and, regardless of that, I have a habit of playing bats against him, and lately it's been burning me because he hasn't been getting lit up. But I mean, the numbers are there, man. On the road against lefties, he seriously struggles. The 369 road WOBA on the road against lefties, and that's only 1% worse. So he just struggles. Now, he's been dominant against righties, a 261 road WOBA to righties. So he's been very good to righties. With that said, you mentioned Billy Hamilton. I love Hamilton in the spot. I love Joey Votto. I love Schebler. Gannett, obviously, like, I'm not going to say to avoid him, but like you said, he probably just got enough home runs to hold him over for the next month or two. So it's like, listen, he's red hot. If you want to play, I'm not gonna tell you not to. But if I was gonna say do 5 red stacks, I'd probably only put him in 1, to be honest, just because he shouldn't be popular guy and he's gonna be. And so if I lose that day, because that's how it went down. Like in cash games, I'm probably not gonna avoid him. In cash games, I'll probably play him if I play cash, just because if he's still cheap, obviously.
Yeah.
Because we always like to pay down at second base in cash anyway. But yeah, man, it seems like a spot. But like, especially with the way the lineup works, depending on where he plays, you can totally see it. Like, I mean, if Schebler's good to play, he might not play. They might just let Schebler play. I know Schebler pitch hit eventually came into the game, I think. So he might not even have to worry about him. But either way, like you said, I like the lefties here. And the Cardinals, man, listen, they've been burning everybody night after night. They burned me a little bit today. Piscotty hit a home run for me, but Pham and Gyorko, like, they had them in the qualifier with Jeanette. So, it was a big reason why I didn't end up finishing higher than I was hoping. But it's Bronson Arroyo, man. If they can hit Arroyo, they got serious problems. They're still getting this ballpark. So I'm with you, man. I love the Cardinals bats here. They might be a little chalky because we all like to attack Arroyo. But I don't care, man. I just think that I think they're in a great spot for sure against Arroyo. And the Reds got a terrible bullpen, too.
Yep, very bad bullpen. So, you might be right. It might be chalky, but there's a bunch of decent hitting spots on this slate. I don't think it'll get too high.
Yeah, it might not. And either way, we always talk like just because a team may be chalky, there's other ways to differentiate your stuff. Like you can only play 4 players on FanDuel and 5 on DraftKings. You still got to find other players. So it could be those players or your pitchers who you differentiate with, right?
Yeah, that's one thing. People try and be too contrarian, and it's like their whole team is 3% owned guys or not, but they're just so it's not. There's a difference between being contrarian and playing guys in good spots that are low owned, and you can definitely have some chalk in your lineup with a couple good low owned picks in other spots and find your way to the top.
Absolutely. All right, we got Jared Eichhoff of the Philadelphia Phillies visiting Michael Fultonevich of the Atlanta Braves.
All right, this is another high run total, 9.5 runs. Fultonevich pitched well his last game out. He's like a all or nothing kind of guy. If you look at his game logs, he's got a couple great games and then a couple games where he gets blown up. I've learned the hard way that you don't take starting pitchers in Atlanta with the new park, so I will not be pitching him. And Jared Eichhoff, although he's supposed to, be a top prospect and he's had some shines of greatness, he has not been going well so far this year. So I'm not pitching a mediocre pitcher in this ballpark, even though the Braves lineup is not that exciting. In terms of the bats, I'm okay with stacking either side of this. Eichhoff, he dominates righties and he gets hit by lefties, and the Braves have some lefties that can hit. Enciarte, Markakis, Matt Adams has been hot since coming over. I'm fine with any of those 3 guys. And on the Philly side, this team's actually starting to wake up a little bit too. Adabel Herrera's been killing the ball. Tommy Joseph. I don't mind playing any of those guys either. Cesar Hernandez, switch hitter at the top of the lineup. You could game stack this. Don't play the pitchers. I'm fine with the bats.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I'm not big on the pitchers either. This ballpark, as you said, has just been a hitter's haven, so to speak, especially the lefties. And Eichhoff and Fultonevich both have some pretty severe splits to lefties. They both struggle mightily against lefties. I
Yeah.
golf on the road over the last 2 years. You mentioned he was dominant against righties. 250 WOBA against righties on the road over the last 2 years. Now against lefties, which you mentioned they're weak, 363. So he
Yeah.
really has a lefty problem, and this ballpark's not going to help him out. He plays in Philly as it is. This ain't going to help him out. And then Fulton Everett, same thing, 333 to righties, but 359 to lefties. So they both have a lefty issue. I'm with you, man. I think all the lefties from both sides are in play. You don't have to leave out the righties. You can play guys like Kemp. I think there's exceptions to those rules, of course, but I definitely think that these are like stack 'em kind of games, because I feel like it's a situation where if you play like Adams, let's say, because I think Adams, he stands out. If you play Adams in a tournament, I would say there's a good chance that Enciarte's having a good game, or maybe Marquez is having a good game, or Phillips or somebody. So it's like, to me, both teams are like a stack or nothing kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much correlation in stacking. It's really the way to go. And it's actually something I've been looking at a lot lately, stacking versus not, and if you study like the perfect lineups, they're never a stack, like it's always the best few players from each game, but to actually make that pick is impossible, to pick the guy from each game. So when you stack, you get all that correlation. Indiarte single, stolen base, Marquez double, second and third, and then Kemp hits a 3-run home run, and all of a sudden you get 70 points from that. It's really the way to approach MLB, and especially like with these kind of guys. You're not going to one off Nick Markakis and hope that he gets a home run, because it's unlikely to happen. You got to get all those points jumbled together. So I agree. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, man, 100%. All right, we got Zach Wheeler of my New York Mets visiting Yu Darvish of the Texas Rangers.
All right. This was a high-scoring game today, and Yu Darvish, although he's a very good pitcher, and he could probably find some strikeouts, even against the Mets, who are one of the lowest strikeout teams. I would look somewhere else for pitching in this stadium, and with these teams that are both hot. Well, Texas is getting hot, and the Mets have power and can hit anyone. And this is a ballpark that caters to lefties, and the Mets have all lefties. So I understand people going with Darvish for the K upside, but I won't be on that, and I won't be on Zach Wheeler either. I just see this game being another high-scoring, multi-home run type of game. In terms of the bats, I'm good with stacking either side of this. I'm good with a game stack. Mazzara had a good game today and looks to be getting hot in the top three of that order. Joey Gallo can always hit him out, and he did as well today. Odor was super cold, and he's been hitting his last few games. So there's bats you want in this game. And on the Mets side, Conforto, Asdrubal, Jay Bruce, Lucas Duda's been on fire. Granderson homer today. All the lefties on both sides, and I stack this game up as many ways you can.
Yeah, man, I'm with you 100%, man. I like all the bats here. I actually think the Mets bats are very sneaky. Listen, it's still Yu Darvish. People may not play Yu Darvish because because obviously the Heat or the Mets are good against lefties, but that doesn't mean they're going to play the Mets against Yu Darvish. It was like today, maybe people knew not to play DeGrom, but not a lot of people play the Rangers against DeGrom.
Yep.
Darvish at 9.8 seems tempting. I could see people biting that trap because he's under the 10K mark. You got Greinke and you got Keuchel, who we're going to talk about later, who are more expensive. So I could see people taking the bait. I could see them, especially after the Mets have been struggling for wins. They've been really bad, but their offense hasn't really been the problem. It's been their pitching. So listen, obviously Zach Wheeler, he gets mashed against lefties. His hard contact rate to lefties is insane. Like he really gets hit hard against lefties. Listen, they both these pitchers have K upside. And the Rangers strike out a ton, but they have so many powerful lefties, man, between Odor and Odor's going to get it going eventually. He hit the ground pretty well today. Like you said, Mazzara's heating up, man. I like all the bats in this game. I'm with you, man. And no Darvish for me. There's too many better options. I think the Mets could be a sneaky stack. And you know what? It's like, think about it. They kind of disappointed people today, but they shouldn't have. Like Neil Walker hit a home run, but Neil Walker's home run was nothing compared to Scooter's. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like, so people might feel like they didn't get their money's worth, even though Granderson hit a home run, Walker hit a home
Yep.
run. Duda had a bunch of singles. Like, they hit well. So
As
it's a
Struble homered.
yeah, it's Drupal homered, so I could see people, running towards the Rangers are going to be the chalk. I think you're right because
Yep.
Zach Wheeler, nobody's really afraid of him. They just saw look what they did to DeGrom. So people are going to run and they're going to play. I would imagine they're going to play these Rangers against them, and they should. So I don't know what's going to be the chalk. It's too early for us to tell. We got to kind of get obviously we have to feel it out and get an idea as the slate goes on. But we'll talk tomorrow, man, and it'll be interesting because. So far, we talked about the Cardinals. And now we're seeing the Rangers. Like it's getting interesting.
Yep, for sure.
All right, let's see. We got Jose Urena of the Miami Marlins visiting John Lackey of the Chicago Cubs. Looks like the wind is blowing in about 6 miles per hour, so we might not have any of that crazy wind to worry about.
That's good. So with the wind, there's not heavy wind blowing out in Chicago. The field is a pitcher's ballpark. Unless that wind's blowing out, the total seems to be low in that park. So John Lackey could be interesting. I'm checking out his hard hit rates right now. He's getting hit pretty hard, 36% to both the left and right side, and 37% fly ball rate to lefties and righties. So he's susceptible to the home run, but he also has K upside. I guess you could consider Lackey tomorrow. On the other side, Urena. I don't believe in this guy. He doesn't have K upside. I would not throw him, and I probably would play some of the Cubs bats tomorrow. Chris Bryant's been heating up, so he could be a low-owned stud that you can get. Ben Zobrist's been heating up. Even Jason Hayward. Don't forget Anthony Rizzo. I could do a Cubs stack tomorrow for sure. And on the Marlins side, although they have been heating up, I'm not too excited about them against Lackey in a pitcher's ballpark situation. So I don't think there's anyone really I'd recommend on the Marlins, although I can understand playing Stanton and any night. But other than that, I'm not really interested in that.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think if you're playing the Marlins, it's definitely one-offs. It's guys like maybe Ozuna, Yelich, Stanton, but you're not really dying to play the stack here. Especially, the only time you really want to stack in Chicago, like you said, is when the wind's blowing out, and it's not the case. So, on top of that, Lackey's he's not bad. So he's not a guy you're dying to target against anyway. When there's so many good options, but. I'm with you, man. I don't believe in Urena either. I'm the same way. I know he had a crazy game. Listen, man, over the sample size that we have on him, his K upside never really has been there. So I'm not gonna just buy it just because he had one, pretty good game, and it was a good game. Don't get me wrong. He played well. But I'm with you, man. This couple's offense is just too potent. They're at home. I don't think they'll be too popular just because the Urena is coming off a pretty good game, and there hasn't been a ton of scoring in the series. So. I'm with you. I think the Cubs. Anytime you can get a powerful team like the Cubs under-owned, it's a good situation to take some of these Cub bets. So I think the Cubs in tournaments are definitely interesting, especially the guys you name like Bryant's heating up. Rizzo eventually is going to turn it around.
Yep.
I'm with you, man.
Rizzo had a 3-run homer today and a double. Yeah, he's coming. And actually, as we're talking about this, I'm starting to like the Cubs a little more because they're definitely going to be very, very low owned, and they have the capability to blow up, and they just haven't in a while.
Yeah.
And this might be the opportunity to get them and be like one of the only guys with it in the tournament.
It's true. No, it's absolutely true. Whenever people start to fall on one of those big, powerful teams, it's like. It's a good time to pick them up, man. It seems like nothing is like it seems like everything seems coincidental, right? It's always the chalk that busts. It's always it's always like, for instance, the other night, the Phillies stack had to go off because the weather was bad. That was the only game with weather issues. That had to be the one to go off. And it was as simple as that. All you had to do was look and say, okay, it should have been the easiest slate of our lives. It should have been there's 7 games tonight. One of them has a chance to get canceled. That's the game nobody's going to play. And sure enough, that's the one that goes off.
and it had a 10 over under, terrible pitching.
Exactly.
It was like there. It was such an easy call, and obviously no one was on it, me included. But the weather, a lot of times, if you can handle the risk of this game might get postponed, it seems like that game, can get you the low ownership that, if it's a good hitting opportunity, a high over under, that it's worth taking a shot on, and it's been paying off in a few situations this year.
Yeah, we saw for sure earlier with Coors. It
Of
was a
course.
situation everybody
Yep.
faded Coors because of the weather, and it went off. And the people that
Yep.
won all the tournaments were the guys that played Coors.
Yep.
All right, we got Ty Blotch of the lefty from the San Francisco Giants visiting Jimmy Nelson of the Milwaukee Brewers.
This is another interesting one. Jimmy Nelson has been a guy that we picked on over the last few years, and now all of a sudden he's pitching like a god. He's got over 8 Ks in 4 of his last 5 starts, over 10 in his last 2, 4 wins in that span, and I'm starting to think it's real. Looking at some of his peripheral numbers, he's still getting hit hard. This is the whole season, but he's got 38% to lefties, 30 to righties, and 56% ground ball rate to righties. So righties aren't hitting him hard, and they're hitting it on the ground. So I wouldn't play righties against him. And lefties have only a 37% ground ball rate, 38 fly ball, and hitting them 38%. So maybe some lefty bats you could look at. On the other side, Blotch, he actually is another one who had a great start last start in a tough spot. But he's a pitcher who pitches to contact. He doesn't have much K upside. I would not pitch him, and I do like bats against him in this spot. The Brewers have been heating up, and they mash lefty pitching. A lot of their hitters are lefty mashers. So depending what their lineup looks like tomorrow, I'm thinking they'll probably bat Broxton leadoff, followed by Santana, Aguilar. I like all 3 of those guys. And Hernan Perez, um, I love that guy. He's like a double down, like I don't know. He doubled down. Whenever he hits one home run, he hits another one like the same game. He's done it 3 times this year already, and I think he only has like 8 home runs total. And it, like last year, he did it like 7 times. When he hit home runs, he had 2 in the same game. So I like Hernan Perez in this spot along with those other righties. And Jesus Aguilar, he's cheap. So if you're playing Keuchel or Greinke, he's a guy that can help you get those guys in. He's batting 3rd in this lineup, and his hard hit rates are through the roof. He's been getting really unlucky and has still actually been doing well, but he could be really crushing it right now. So he's a guy I've had my eye on. I will have a lot of him tomorrow.
Yeah,
And
I think that you nailed it, man. I love the Brewers tomorrow. I think it's great. They like got like half going today. Like they started off like they were gonna like kill it, and then they kind of didn't. So I think some
yep,
people are gonna be disappointed in that. So you mentioned Aguilar. He's been playing pretty well since he's been in the lineup, and for some reason he's 2.2. I get Ty Blotch had a great start, but his numbers before that weren't great. And now he's pitching in Milwaukee against a predominantly right-handed team. They can get really right-handed, especially if Shaw's not back. So
yep.
I'm with you, man. I love the Brewers bats here. Jimmy Nelson's been good enough that I'm not crazy about picking on him, although I'm not crazy about the 4.2 run projection I see from San Francisco. But regardless, man, you got to respect the man's game logs. I mean, he's like you said, man. He's pitching like his swinging strike rate is 8% over the last 2 years. It's up to 10% this year. So he's doing it. It's not just like umpires or luck. He's getting swinging strikes. He's doing well. And his numbers are actually not too bad at home considering he plays in Milwaukee, man. I mean, yeah, his WOBA numbers over the last 2 years at home are in the threes, but they're in the very low threes. And he plays in Milwaukee, so you have to give him some slack there.
Hmm.
He definitely pitches better at home than on the road, which is strange, but I'm with you. I don't hate it. And I love, like you said, man, I love the Milwaukee bats. They're all priced well. Nobody's dying to. I don't think people are going to be dying to target Blotch because of the fact that he's coming off a really good outing. So I'm with you, man. They're cheap too. So if you want to play Keuchel and all these guys, like you said, man, they're nice and cheap on FanDuel, and I really like this spot for him.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of Keuchel, we got Dallas Keuchel, the lefty from the Houston Astros, visiting Jason Vargas, the lefty from the Kansas City Royals.
Nice transition there.
That worked out well, right?
Yeah, a pro right there. All right. This is one of the lower totals on the slate. You got Vargas, the lefty, facing a very tough Houston Astros lineup that's been just going off of late. And Keuchel, who's been incredible this year, going up against a very, very weak lineup that has been hitting a little bit. They're getting out of the bottom of the rankings, but they really don't scare you, especially against Keuchel. I'll probably have a decent amount of Keuchel tomorrow, maybe like 25%. And I just expect him to do his usual strikeout players give up 1 to 2 earned runs and go 8 innings, get the win and the quality start. He's probably one of the most consistent, expensive pitchers out there, and against the Royals team in the Royals ballpark, it's just a great spot for him. So no reason to avoid him. And with other good pitchers on the slate, I don't think he'll get too highly owned. Maybe approach the 30s, but that's not even that terrible. And I don't know if he'll get that high. So I like Keuchel a good bit. Vargas, I would not. He has his spots sometimes here and there, but not against this lineup. They're very righty centric, and they've just been crushing. I wouldn't do that. Anyone in the Houston lineup: Springer, Altuve, Correa, Gaddis, Beltran, Gurriel, like the whole lineup is in play, and they've all been on fire lately. So they're probably going to be pretty popular. And I'll have a little bit, but not my favorite spot on the slate.
Yeah, man. Oddly enough, it seems like the Astros typically do better against other righties, which is strange. Vargas is obviously a lefty, and he's been well enough to where we're not dying to target him in this ballpark. I say it all the time. The only time I really like to take hitters here is when it's really hot, like in the low to upper 90s or so. Like anywhere in the 90s, I would say it's okay because it starts to get really humid down there and the ball carry. But other than that, it's a big pitcher's park. It's one of the I think it is the largest park in the majors. I think I'm not positive, but I know it's a pitcher's park.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, now one thing I like Keuchel, I do. He's 10-9, most expensive pitcher. I think he's safe because of the offense he's against. But one thing that was a little alarming over the last 2 years, I just noticed his road numbers. His K percentage is way down on the road. We're talking 7.84 K per nine at 20.74%. When he's at home, that number's in double digits or at least close to it.
Mm-hmm.
His road WOBA over the last 2 years is 330, which is 9.2%, 9.27% worse. And listen, against lefties he's dominant. Against righties, so a 347 road WOBA. So that's a little bit concerning. Now listen, do I still think he's better than most of the pitchers on the slate? Absolutely. He's getting a good park. He's got a team that strikes out a lot this year, and it's not that powerful of an offense. So I do like Keuchel. I just wanted to mention that that's a little alarming. I'm going to be honest with you. At first, I went on into this show thinking that Keuchel was my guy. But I just saw that number, and it kind of scared me just a little bit. I'm still going to play Keuchel for sure, but I might have to lower my exposure and go to the next guy that we're about to talk about. Look at that transition there. You see that? We got
2 in a row, man.
2 in a row. Keep it rolling. Luis Perdomo of the San Diego Padres visiting Zach Greinke of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tell us about Greinke.
He's back to his Cy Young form this year, and I mean this is probably the best possible matchup for him. He's had a couple starts against San Diego this year. I think 2. I'm going to check that in a second. And, he's just been dominant this year. Lefties and righties have WOBAs under 260 against him. He's striking guys out. He's got 90 strikeouts this year on 80 innings pitched, so over a strikeout per inning. And he's not getting hit hard by either side of the plate. Actually, righties 39% hard contact. I take that back. So maybe there are some regression in this. 39% hard contact rate is pretty alarming actually, with a 38% fly ball percentage, and the lefties are hitting 34%. That's kind of interesting. I'm gonna have to dig into Greinke a little bit more. Kind of like you had some flaws in Keuchel, there's some with Greinke as well here. And playing in a tough ballpark, is another red flag. But the Padres have just been abysmal, and they strike out a ton. So there's a lot of upside here. And I would probably have, a couple Greinke and a couple Keuchel as, 10% in my lineups tomorrow. I'm not high on either of these expensive pitchers, but you got to have a little bit of both these guys because the upside is just so massive. And, there could be a situation in the slate where if you didn't have them, you just have no shot. So you got to have a little bit of them. Arizona bats against Luis Perdomo. He's a ground ball pitcher. He does have some K upside, but I wouldn't look to use Perdomo in this stadium. And I would be lightly interested in Arizona backs. They got 4.94 implied total. Jake Lamb is definitely a good target here. David Peralta, Gregor Blanco had a good game today, and he seems to be hitting consistently at the top of that lineup. But it doesn't excite me too much. I'm not really too on it, but I can understand why you would, and it's definitely got to be under consideration. And there's no one on the Padres that I'm really too worried about at all. There's no one on that lineup that I would play.
Yeah, man, that's the thing about it. You're right. There's some flaws on Greinke too. For the last 2 years at home, Greinke's hard contact rate to righties is pretty high. Now his WOBA isn't high. His road WOBA against righties is not bad, but his hard contact rate is. So that makes you wonder why. Like, is he getting lucky, or guys just hitting it right at people? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
2 years is a while, but it's possible. It's a trend. And now then again, we also have to think the exit velocity. He played in Arizona all year last year, and all of the starts, at home this year. So it could be a little bit of a there could be a little bit of a thing about the balls being easier to hit harder. Like, think about it. If you get solid contact, the ball's just naturally going to go further and harder if you're in 100-degree weather with dry heat opposed to like
Yep.
60-degree weather with humidity. You know what I mean? So that could be something too. But you're right. There's flaws in both these guys' games, and you also mentioned his park. He is in a bad park, but we also mentioned that both these opponents have high strikeout potential. So I'm with you. You don't want to completely fade either of these guys. I think I might, as of right now, I might feel more comfortable with Greinke, but that could definitely change. I'm going to be following the line movement here. I want to see which way the line's going on these guys, which guys' totals is going down, which of these projected run totals are going up and down. I'm going to pay attention to that for sure, and I recommend you guys do the same. But like Paulie said, I don't think either of these guys are necessarily must plays. I think if you might be able to, if you really dig, and there hasn't been any pitchers off the top of my head that we talked about that I really like. To be honest with you, these two have been my favorite pitchers. But if you do some digging and you find something you like, I don't blame you for taking a shot, because I do think, Paulie, like you said, you don't want to fade these guys completely, because they do have the upside on the slate, the ceiling that, like, if you don't have them, you're just done. But at the same time, they also have potential. We've seen them get hit. I think I like Greinke just because the Padres are so bad. But it's a bad ballpark, man. They can get lucky. A couple fly balls, like you said, Greinke's a fly ball guy. At least Keuchel's a ground ball pitcher. So it's tough, man. It's really hard to make that decision. Oh man, it's really tough.
Yeah.
I think if I had to pick one, it'd be Greinke, and the only reason is because at least he has the K upside. Like,
The
I'm
K is.
alarmed. I'm alarmed that Keuchel's K numbers are down on the road. That's significant. I'm a little alarmed
Yeah.
there. Um,
Tonight, Robbie Ray, in the same matchup against the Padres, he had the hardest hit rate of all the pitchers on the slate at 42%. And I was like, I'm not pitching this guy. That's regression's coming. He's gonna get rocked one of these games. And then we struck out 11 Padres over 6.2, only give up 3 hits. Like, the Padres are just that bad. And if 11 strikeouts, don't matter if you give up a couple home runs. You're still scoring 40, 45 points. So
yeah.
I'm with you. I'm actually favoring Greinke over Keuchel, and cautious about both. And neither of them I'm like lock buttoning by any means, but I'm agreeing with you. I think Greinke's just because of the matchup. The Royals are a little hotter against Keuchel at home, and the Padres on the road that have just been awful. So
Yeah,
a double.
exactly. I'm with you, man. I'm definitely with you, I think. And as far as the bats, man, you're right. Perdomo's got strong ground ball numbers, especially on the road. So I'm not dying to play these bats. But like you said, Jake Lamb seems like a great play. It seems that Arizona might be a little bit more of a one-off type situation for me, just until they get it going. They're not getting it going. Like, I mean today they seem to have got it going today. They pitched very well today against Lamette or whatever his name
But
is. So I'll give them those props there. So they're interesting, but there's so many good spots. And Perdomo's bad, so don't get me wrong. You know what? I actually do like Arizona a little bit now that I think about it. Uh, yeah. I think I do like him against Perdomo. Perdomo's on the road still, man, and there's a lot of these fly ball hitters here. So I think Goldschmidt certainly in play, and I think that Lamb, all these guys. So, all right, we
It,
got.
it, it,
Go
it
ahead.
depends. You got to see
Yeah,
what lineup the D-backs roll out. Like,
exactly.
some nights they roll out this like Descalzo, Mathis, actually I like Herman. No, Descalzo, Mathis, Ionetta, pitcher. And like tonight, you saw that Owings batted fifth, Drury sixth, Descalzo, Herman. Like, it really depends who they play. So
Yeah,
If they got one of the more attractive lineups, I'd be more inclined to play them. And if they go with one of those like second rate lineups, I'd be a little bit more off of them.
Yeah. Either way, I think I want the lefties here. The Diamondbacks do have Perdomo has a 37, or basically a 38% hard contact rate to lefties. So either way, I think the lefties. If you're gonna play this game, they're probably the safest bet, especially if you get the Scalzo in tournaments. If he bats seventh or so, it's 2.4, not a bad price. You'd like to see him come a little higher in the order, but yeah, I got to give the D-backs their due. I can't write them off just because they disappointed me in Miami a little bit.
Yep, that's for sure.
All right, we got Adalberto Mejia, the lefty from the Minnesota Twins, visiting Giovanni Gallardo of the Seattle Mariners.
All right, another two pitchers that don't excite you too much. Gallardo, maybe he's not the best to target against because he's just, he pitches to soft contact and he just seems to kind of find his way through the games without getting rocked ever. So, I'm not too excited about Twins bats here, although, you know, this is a spot where they could go off. I mean, the Twins bats have a lot of power up and down the lineup, and when they do get it going, against a pitcher like this where you can get a bunch of singles and then a home run, it could be a decent spot. And Adalberto Mejia, I haven't seen enough where I'm ready to dive in on him. He does have a little bit of K upside, and he hasn't really gotten roughed up lately. But Seattle just went off. They've got 12 runs tonight, and they've been really tearing the ball up lately. It's not a spot I'm going to go for either pitcher. He is a lefty, so Nelson Cruz is going to be popular tomorrow. Seattle actually changed their lineup a little bit around today, so it'll be interesting to see tomorrow what it looks like. But if Valencia is in the top of the order, I'd be on him a lot. He's a lefty masher over the years, and if he's in that two hole again, I'll be on him a lot. Cruz, Valencia, Mater, and you don't have to avoid the lefties against a young pitcher like that. So you could throw Cano and Seager in there as well. All those guys are popping on a lot of models. They've been really hitting the ball well. So Seattle's a stack I'm gonna be looking at. And on the Twins side, there's Dozier, Sano, Kepler, Grossman, all those guys are decent. Even Joe Mauer, I know it's tough to play him at first base, but if you're stacking this team up, you got to throw him in there with it. Giovanni Gallardo, he's the king of giving up 4 runs a game, 9 hits, but that could just go off a little further and get to the bullpen. So I'm fine with the twin stack. I'm fine with a couple one-offs in that lineup. This is a game for offense, even though it's in a tough part.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think the Vegas is telling you there's going to be some runs here, and I tend to agree with them. Giovanni Gallardo, you mentioned it's tough to target him because number one, his numbers on the road at home are inflated because he spent think about it. He played for Baltimore, he played for Milwaukee. He's finally in a pitcher's ballpark here, so I think that he's not a guy that I'm dying to target. And I had to learn that the hard way, but you're right. He's not somebody. He pitches to soft contact. I'm not saying he can't play the Twins. I just think there's better spots. I don't think you need to go here. Now, with that said, I do like Seattle bats just like you. I think Nelson Cruz is in a great spot. I know they played a couple lefties and they haven't done. Nelson Cruz hasn't done what you wanted him to do, but he will eventually, and he is pretty bad. He's not a big strikeout guy. Valencia, like you said, I think is a great play. People never play him anymore. It seems, and Tyler Mater, like you said, if Segura's still out, which I believe he will be, another great play. So yeah, man, I'm with you. And like you said, you can't ignore the lefties. He's a young pitcher, a bad pitcher. You can't sleep on Cano and Seager. I think Cano hit a home run today off a lefty.
They both did. Cano and Seager both homered off a lefty.
You told me that. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm with you, man. I think the Mariners stack is certainly in play. That's going to do it for the game-by-game breakdown. Oh, a quick question. Going back to Keuchel. Who pitched today for Houston? I forgot.
It was like a young kid. I'll pull up his name. He was making like his second career start.
That's right.
And he did all right.
Paulino.
Yeah, Paulino. And he's actually a bit of a prospect. He's got some potential down the road. And he actually did well today, although if you look at the box score, the Royals ended up winning 9-7, but they scored 6 runs in the 8th and 9th. So, Paulino actually did decent today, and the Royals bats came alive against the Astros, against a tough Astros bullpen.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, man, for sure. Keuchel or Greinke, it's a tough call. You know what's going to really make my decision easier when I see these lineups come out. I want to see
Yep.
where are more K's at, depending on the lineup for sure.
Lineups and umpires.
And umpires, absolutely, man. Important stuff. All right, Paulie, you ready to play some Dong Watch here?
Yeah, sure.
All right, man. Go ahead. Start us off.
I am going to start it off with my boy Hernan Perez with the double Dong.
Gotcha. I like it. Hernan Perez. I like it. Let me see. Give me some Aaron Judge against Rick Porcello. I'll go with Judge. One more. So I think I have to go with Lomo against your Pelfrey call, bro. I have to try it. I got to try with Lomo, man. It's a ground ball pitcher against a fly ball hitter. I got to give it a shot.
That's fine. That'll be good for my hedge stack. I'm cool with that.
There you go. There you go. All right, you got two here.
As you went through the slate, though, like I really started to like Pelfrey even more. Outside of the two guys at the top, like we struggled to really like any other pitchers. And
True.
At 5,800, I'm just gonna have to load up on the expensive bats in the Yankees Red Sox game, I think.
That's it.
But
there you go.
Back to Don Watch. I am gonna go with Jed Gallardo against Bronson Arroyo in the Cincinnati ballpark.
And you get one more.
And I get one more. Then I will go with I'm going to take someone in this. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take Valencia. Valencia's going deep tomorrow.
There you go. I like that call. And I think I'm gonna go with Dexter Fowler against Arroyo. I think Fowler can hit one off the old guy. I think so.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Hey, Paulie, man, it was a blast having you on, man. Your second show, phenomenal job, man. We appreciate you coming on here and talking some game theory for our listeners there.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
And it's always a blast, man. Hey, man, things are moving along on WiseTake, man. We'll be up and running hopefully soon. Make sure you're following the WiseTake Twitter at @wise_take for all the exciting updates. So we got some of our tools going, and we got a cool guest for tomorrow. So listen, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button. That thumbs up means a lot to us. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow here. If you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow. If you're listening on iTunes with the audio-only version, subscribe to the channel there. Rate us, review us, give us some positive reviews, bump us up those charts. It means a lot to us. We really appreciate it. But anyway, guys, on behalf of Paulie and myself, as always, good luck.